Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for the afternoon session of the first day of our conference. It is a great pleasure and honor to have with us here today the Minister of Tourism of the Hellenic Republic, Mrs. Olga Kefalogianni, who will speak about tourism as a means for creating new employment opportunities and for supporting youth entrepreneurship. Following the Minister's presentation, we will have a plenary session on the private sector and its responsibilities. Madam Minister, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to be with you here today. But I would like, first of all, to thank the Stavros Niarchos Foundation for a memorable evening last night at the Esplanade, and congratulate the amazing team of the Foundation for an impeccable organization, as always. The Dance of the Cranes, based on the idea of the architect Renzo Piano and choreographed by Renato Gianella, on the side of the Cultural Center, listening to the music performed by the orchestra of the National Opera, was indeed a pleasure for all senses. Thank you very much. Today, I would like to thank again the Stavros Niarchos Foundation and the European Foundation Center for co-hosting this important event. After last April's meeting in New York, this is yet another opportunity to reflect on one of the major social and economic problems of our time. The Greek society, and in a similar way, the societies in many other nations, is facing the challenge of healing the wounds of a dismal period as quickly and as efficiently as possible. But unemployment, and especially unemployment that affects the most energetic parts of our communities, is a persisting and complicated predicament. Youth unemployment has always been a problem. However, it has been gravely exacerbated by the economic downturn of the last 5 years. It now affects a broader range of young people than it did before the crisis. An educated and immensely skilled population in Europe and elsewhere is in great agony, and it is our duty to prepare a better future for them. As discussed in the April conference, there is no doubt that the creation of new opportunities calls for innovation and the collaboration of public and private sector institutions. Tourism might well be one of the fields in which collaboration may deliver fast and sustainable results. In Greece, there is strong indication that tourism is becoming a key driver for development and contributes to a dynamic restart of the national economy. Clearly, it is this industry that, in the long run, will support employment and the GDP. Tourism will help convey an image of reliability and stability for the country and stand as a paradigm in terms of attracting foreign and domestic investment. After all, it is this sector of our economy that has traditionally enjoyed a competitive advantage and, in some cases, features products and services of the highest level by international standards. In the past 2 years, we have tried to reposition Greece as a world-class tourist destination. The year 2013 was the year of recovery, with new records in arrivals and tourism receipts. Arrivals increased by approximately 15%, while revenue also rose by almost 16%. This year, the statistics look even better. Market research shows that in the first 4 months of 2014, arrivals are estimated to have risen by over 20%. We are positive now that good results have been the outcome of a concrete strategy and hard work in several policy fields. Ever since we assumed office, we have adhered to a strategic plan which will eventually lead us to better competitiveness and transform the Greek tourism into a diverse set of inspiring characteristics and possibilities. The Ministry of Tourism and this government as a whole has adopted a number of legislative measures and regulations in order to facilitate investments in hospitality, travel and leisure services, streamline administrative procedures, and improve the overall quality of our national tourism offering. We want to make it easier for businesses to start, grow, and, of course, employ people. In reference to mobilizing European Union and domestic funds, this government's strategy for the 2014-2020 period aims at utilizing resources in such a way so as to speed up changes and move towards a new development model. In order to succeed, the new model aims to promote extroversion for businesses in a very competitive international environment. Our plan for growth focuses on innovation and places special emphasis on job creation and the reduction of poverty. One of our main priorities is to promote all-around enhancement of entrepreneurship and development of business networks of horizontal and vertical cooperation. It is therefore imperative to focus on economic sectors, such as tourism, that have a competitive advantage and positive growth prospects at both national and regional levels. The new design for tourism development involves upgrading of human resources, improvement of company efficiency, and expansion into new kinds of services. Our plan for tourism promotes a diverse product that can attract more demanding visitors looking for unique, customized, fascinating travel and leisure services. Therefore, specialized programs will promote the evolution of new thematic forms such as medical tourism, agrotourism, wine tourism, religious tourism, cultural tourism. These will create opportunities for the young to enter the labor market and shape the conditions for the reversal of discouraging demographic trends in rural areas. We are confident that good prospects are ahead of us, particularly since the banking system is showing clear signs of stabilization and will soon reclaim its position as the powerhouse of growth. The Ministry of Tourism is about to give the green light to a range of large-scale projects that are expected to turn things around for Greece. It is anticipated that during the construction phase and afterwards, these projects will create directly and indirectly thousands of new jobs. However, we do not only aspire to the creation of more jobs. There are many young and skilled professionals out there who must be encouraged to go on and create their own venture or consider self-employment. Areas of integrated tourism investment can become an inexhaustible source of new jobs and new venture opportunities in regions that otherwise have little benefit from economic growth. The first integrated large-scale tourism investment has provided some valuable insight. In just a few years, this part of Western Peloponnese has become a hub that attracts young, energetic professionals from the wider area who use their skills as self-employed or through small-size business ventures. Over the past decade, innovations in technology and services have changed the face of the tourism industry. Small independent businesses in hospitality, travel and leisure can really stand out from the competition. Tourism is also the generator of a series of new ventures, not only in strictly tourism-related fields, but also in supporting activities that are food supply or engineering. Tourism development can trigger knowledge-intensive services, such as market research and analysis, marketing services, IT solutions for tourism firms, innovative food and drink supply services, staff training, new forms of customized mobile services. This context presents a great opportunity for our young and educated workforce. With growing frequency in Greece and in other countries that we visit, we see young individuals who really astonish us with our ideas, creativity, and vision. It is our intention to multiply the number of young individuals who go on to make something of their own. We strive to improve the image of society towards entrepreneurship and urge bright and skilled people to take the risk. This country boasts a young generation which is high in expertise and provides a way of life that can attract youngsters from other countries. With this in mind, the Ministry of Tourism will soon launch a project that we call Greece for Startup. Greece for Startup is a coordinated effort which aspires to draw startup businesses towards Greece as well as to support development of Greek-owned startups. It will be a web-based platform in the beginning for exchanging new ideas and best practices that actively diversify Greece's tourist offering. Perhaps the biggest obstacle for young professionals who want to start their own businesses is finding their way through different financing options, finding the program or funding that suits their needs. Greece for Startup is designed to bring together innovative ideas and financing organizations. Hopefully, Greece for Startups will become a useful medium of communication between government and the private sector. And surely the government has much to benefit from this scheme, since for the first time, energetic and resourceful youth will have their voice heard. The Ministry of Tourism will come to a better grasp of the changes in the hospitality, travel and leisure sector, which will guide us to adapt our policy and allocate domestic and EU funds even more efficiently. Ladies and gentlemen, we are fairly confident that our long-term strategic plan for tourism is delivering for the young generation. It is time for sophisticated, sustainable and above all, inclusive growth, because every society, every economy needs the youth in order to get back on track. With the opportunity of today's event, and while we are in the midst of a promising summer tourist season, I would like to urge private institutions to have faith in the young generation and the dynamics of the Greek tourism sector. And to the young people, we would like to say that we believe in your abilities and make your mark. Before I finish, I would like again to congratulate the Stavros Niarchos Foundation for their initiative, for their inspiration, and for accurately addressing some of the crucial problems of our time. Thank you for your attention.
I think there is time for a couple of 2 or 3 questions for the Minister to answer. So please, if any of you would like to raise any questions. Nobody? It was crystal clear. Thank you. And I think... Please, Linda, can you identify yourself?
Linda Gibbs from Bloomberg Associates. We can't figure out what medical tourism is. Can you say a little bit about that?
Can you bring another microphone? Can you bring another microphone here, please? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for the question. This is part of our effort to complement and to enhance the tourism offering. Greece is mainly associated up to now as a summer destination, as a sea, sand, beach vacation destination. Greece has a lot more to offer than that. And this is why our efforts are concentrated in enriching the tourist offering. One of the areas which we have identified as areas where Greece can have growth is medical tourism, and this is not something that the Ministry of Tourism has identified on its own. This is based on studies that have been made. One of them is the McKinsey study on the Greek economy, which has identified that medical tourism could indeed help in the recovery of the economy. This would be the combination of a medical travel with a vacation in our country. So we have identified the specific areas in the medical sector where Greece could have a competitive advantage, be it in terms of having very good qualified doctors and medical staff and medical infrastructure, or competitive pricing. And this is a way to give the opportunity for travelers to come to Greece and have a therapy or any other treatment and combine it with their vacation in our country. Thank you.
I think there is a question in the back. No, keep the mic here so she can reply. Thank you.
My name is Neshka Kvatovich-Mihailovic. I'm Secretary General of Europa Nostra, the voice of cultural heritage in Europe. And I had the pleasure of attending the breakout session on cultural tourism before lunch, and I thought it is important to convey some messages that were voiced at our breakout session to the minister here present. And one of the important concerns that were voiced on that session was that, of course, cultural tourism and investing in developing cultural tourism in this country, like in other parts of Europe and beyond, is extremely important objective. But at the same time, the cultural heritage, which is the key asset for promoting cultural heritage in these countries and in other places, ought to be preserved in a proper way. That means that any cultural tourism development ought to be sustainable, responsible, high-quality cultural tourism. Otherwise, the resources that are at the basis of the development of that tourism can be seriously endangered. I just felt that this message ought to be conveyed to the minister, and we very much hope that the minister will indeed support the development of sustainable cultural tourism in this country.
Yes, let me just say that both the cultural heritage and also the natural environment of our country are two pillars on which tourism development must be based on if we want to have sustainable development. So, of course, thank you for your comments. We are collaborating with the Ministry of Culture in order to promote cultural tourism. And I think I can reflect what everybody in this room is thinking if they know how the Greek state has, through the years, preserved its cultural heritage. I think the archaeologists and all our scientists are always very, very protective of our cultural heritage, because this is not just part of our heritage, it's part of international cultural heritage, and this is an important message. We are not preserving the sites and the monuments for our own sake. We are preserving it and wanting to showcase them to the world, because these are part of world cultural heritage. Thank you.
One more question, please. Yes.
Thank you. My name is Pavlos Georgiadis. I would like to ask Ms. Minister. 3 months ago, 2 or 3 months ago, the Minister of Rural Development and Food has approved a law for the multifunctional farms and cottage industry, which would allow farmers across the Greek terroir, small farmers that wish to diversify their incomes, also through hospitality services and tourism, to open up their farms, to these multifunctional farms. But unfortunately, and coming from the civil society for rural development, there has been a miscoordination with the Ministry of Tourism with respect to allowing licenses of touristic exploitation of these farms. What is your position about this? I would really like to learn more about why is this happening.
The tourist exploitation of the farms and of what we call agritourism is part of the responsibility of the Ministry of Tourism. We have a draft law which is presented in the Parliament today on agrotourism and on wine tourism, and we are, for the first time, creating the legal framework for this tourist offering to be provided in Greece. I know that up to now there has been, we have absorbed European structural funds towards this direction, but to tell you the truth, it's not done in the best possible way, and it's not done in the way that our competitive markets have developed this kind of product up to now. So for the first time, the Ministry of Tourism is introducing agrotourism and wine tourism as special thematic types of tourism, and not only labeling, but also providing for the framework for how these enterprises can be licensed. And of course, this is a very big support for the rural areas of Greece, and we believe that they provide a very good opportunity for young and dynamic parts of our society, the young people of Greece, to be able to remain in their rural areas, in all the regions of Greece, and provide the opportunity for our visitors to have a unique experience of Greece in another way.
Thank you, and thank you, Madam Minister. Now we are ready to proceed with the afternoon plenary session. Thank you again.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, are we ready now? Είμαστε έτοιμοι. Are we ready? Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunately, all morning we've been learning about youth unemployment, and we've seen the frightening numbers of unemployed youth, not only in Greece, but in many countries around Europe and the whole world. And some of our speakers today have elaborated on the issue. What we have also heard is that while the number of unemployed people increases rapidly during recession periods, joblessness among the youth has been a persistent problem for decades, even during more prosperous times. So that indicates that there's also structural inefficiencies into the process. Definitely return to growth is imperative to tackle the issue, but based on what we've heard again, it may not be sufficient to remedy the problem. Undoubtedly, the state is primarily responsible to create a healthy and enabling environment that will lead to job creation. But our global experience shows that this is not addressing youth unemployment is not a one-sector job. It requires broad collaborative effort among all the stakeholders. And one of the key stakeholders is the private sector. It is a key engine for growth, a major job provider, as it creates almost 90% of the jobs in the developed countries. In addition to that, employers have the capability to take direct action for the training and skill development of their people, and also they can influence policy making by supporting the design, the implementation, and also the evaluation of policy actions that support youth employment. So the private sector has obviously an important role in youth unemployment in this process. And I'm pleased to welcome our panelists. I'm sure you've read all about the detailed bios in your conference material, so I will not go over that in the interest of time. We will ask our panelists to comment on the role and responsibilities of the private sector and give us specific initiatives and recommendations that have worked from their perspective in order to create sustainable jobs for the young people and also help them integrate into the labor market. Our goal is to exchange ideas and have a debate on the issue, and we will also invite the audience into this debate. So let me start right away by asking each one of you what you believe the role of the private sector is and what are the different ways that you have been approaching the issue. So, Samer, the floor is yours.
Okay, first I would like to say why the private sector has to play a role. I have 4 points that's very important. Number one is that any private company, wherever it's, or a private sector company, has a responsibility toward the society you work in. So whether you work in the Middle East or you work here, you have to pay back to society. Second, corporate social responsibility is becoming a must. No longer it's a luxury. In all our sectors, whatever you are operating, I operate in the engineering and construction sector. And our pre-qualification for major construction contract, it's a must to demonstrate what is your corporate social responsibility, what you have done. And training and finding place for employment definitely is an area where it can benefit you. Third thing is that if you want to succeed in the business today, you have to build in youth training and youth employment as part of your business model. If you don't do that, you will not succeed for a long term. And fourth is young people today. In the engineering industry, it's not a very attractive industry. If you go to, many people want to go to other types of fields. To attract them, you have to find some interesting things for them, that you are taking care of young people, you are training them. So these are the 4 reasons why we must do it, not because we like it, because you have to do it. I'll give you 4 examples. We partner with universities, we partner with NGOs, and we partner with government. And we giving some specific examples for some of them. NGOs, one of them is EFE, which is here, for example, and other NGOs in the Middle East, where we go to universities or training centers, and we make an agreement with them where we train the people, young people from these universities, and we take them and offer them job for 1 year or 2 years in our projects worldwide. And in Greece, as we speak specifically, we have created a center for building information management. And we take every 6 months 40 graduates from universities in Greece. We train them for 4 to 5 months, and then we send them to our project worldwide. And this is the first example with universities. NGOs. NGOs is a must. In the Middle East, there's plenty of NGOs that are partnership with international organizations. And we create incubators for young people to create their own job. As the minister said, it's not only important to find for them job, but to create their own businesses. We provide a place for them to start their own engineering setup, start their own IT sector, and then from that, they can start their own business on a trial basis, where their cost of startup, we take part of that. Finally, partnering with government. In Jordan, and specifically, in Lebanon, another example, and in Egypt, we have partnered with some of the government where we take on vocational training centers, government-led vocational training centers, and we upgrade the training, we provide the instructors, and we make sure the curriculum, so that when the people graduate, they are employable, either by our company or other firms. These are some specific examples that I'm sure can be copied in Greece.
Thank you, Samer. We'll be coming back to this point. Inzi, from your perspective.
So let me take a little bit the experience to Egypt and to dig deeper into the industry I'm representing today. So I will tell you very briefly where do I work and which industry I'm representing. I work for Suracom. It's the largest e-commerce site in the Arab world. We're actually working as a retail site and as a marketplace site for third-party sellers. We're labeled as the Amazon of the Middle East, and we're really happy about it. But to maintain such experience, we needed to have the right calibers, the right assets, and the right supply. And actually, as I would call ourselves a startup. We started operating in 2005 in Dubai and UAE. We couldn't have done it alone because we really needed to educate youth as we're a very demanding industry. That's why we have a partnership like the one we have with an amazing organization, which is EFE, Education for Employment, that was represented in the morning by Jamie. Actually, let me tell you why Egypt and why this partnership. But imagine with me a population of 90 million, internet penetration quadrupling year on year, and we have a 13.4% unemployment rate. So with all these metrics, our role as an e-commerce company within the online industry and as part of the private sector is becoming more and more central in the identification of the skills and the education and the training that the youth require in order to meet the economic needs. So part of our experience and part of the collaboration that we're doing with EFE, we're actually parting on two levels. The first level is the entrepreneurial level, which would is actually aiming at educating and training 100 aspiring entrepreneurs. So that's by helping them build their own business models to create their online ventures, and actually we're providing them with incubators as well. I mean, the workspace, the delivery, the call center, every single thing that can help them build their businesses. And the other level is on the recruitment level. Actually, when I joined Suracom, I found that we have 40% of our workforce are graduates from the EFE organization, which is the Education for Employment. Definitely, we grew larger now because the internet industry is growing massively. However, when I heard their stories and I heard their transformation and that happened to them, it was really inspiring. And because it's so hard to share all these experiences and all these stories, I will ask you to allow me to read the words and the quotes by the people who joined our company, and their lives have been transformed after the collaboration with EFE. So actually I will read two quotes. One before they joined the program of EFE, the professional program in which they were educated and developed to join our company, and after they joined our company. So this quote is from a graduate. His name is Ahmed Sa'ir. Unfortunately, he didn't make it today. But he said, "As long as I'm working, I have value. I have purpose. For one reason or another, I couldn't find a decent job. So I would work even in the street. I wouldn't stop. I would keep moving forward." And then when EFE provided such an opportunity, because this guy had so much potential and is a great caliber to invest in and a great asset for our company, he said, "I know I want to be a positive force. I don't want to be selfish. I owe everyone around me, those who help me. I want to be a change agent in my personal and professional life." And these are the kind of opportunities that we provide youth with. We have to give them an opportunity. And this is not only a success story because we have a lot of stories and we have a lot of examples. And actually we have one example here with us today, which is Hiba. Hiba, can you please stand up? I mean, this lady joined the EFE program for 3 months back in 2010. And after the 3 months have ended, she joined the next day Suracom, and she joined as a content associate. Now she's holding one of the senior positions in our company, and she's responsible for a whole section that is bringing revenue and sales and is contributing to the growth of our site and our industry. So this girl has been an inspiration for everyone around her, and me personally, and on behalf of the company, I would definitely like to thank her for being such an inspiration. And these are not the only examples. These are the people who took the opportunity. However, there are a lot of other people and a lot of other youth who need this opportunity. And our role as a private sector, and specifically as SMEs, and specifically the industries that are really growing within a certain country, are responsible towards these youth. At least we can do it from, let's do it for a selfish reason, because they're assets, they're great calibers, and they're great potentials. Thank you.
Thank you, Indy. And Nicole, what about you? You have more of a macro perspective on all of this. What is it in the core of youth unemployment, and what does the private sector have to do to address the issue? What are some things that have worked? What are some failures and some lessons learned? Can you give us your insights on that, please?
Sure. So
Thank you first again for having me. It's a real privilege to be on the stage with so many doing such concrete things to bring more employment opportunities to young people. As you said, I work in a think tank in Washington called the Center for Strategic and International Studies, and we've been looking at understanding the broader dynamics, if you will, and trying to understand the different aspects of the challenge of youth employment globally from both the supply and the demand side. And I think in doing that, we uncovered several gaps. And in all of them, there's space and good examples of how the private sector is engaging. We've talked a bit about already today, and we've heard some great examples. I'm sure we'll hear some more about the skills and education gap and how the private sector is really engaging in that. And we can talk some more about that. But there's a couple, I think, of other often overlooked gaps, if you will, that cross, as I said, the supply and the demand side. So one example is the expectations and incentive gap. And I think we need to think about how the private sector is managing its expectations on what it is looking for in young employees as they are coming into the workplace, and how they can perhaps adjust to make sure that they're providing opportunities and recognizing that the skills and the assets that young people are bringing may be different than what they think they need, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. And to be fair, on the other side, I think there is some expectations gap with young people and within families and communities around status of jobs, and that's something else we can perhaps come back to. The information gap, this came up briefly in this morning's talk, but I think the private sector companies can play a bigger role in call it advertising, but in getting the information out to a broader set of young people on what jobs are available, where those jobs are, again, what are the skills and competencies that are going to be required to get that job, what they're looking for, and whether it's supporting platforms or mobile, and there's some other concrete examples. But again, the role of the private sector in bridging that information gap. One example some of you may be familiar with is a platform called Souktel, and they originated, they're active in Somalia and Palestine, and it's a mobile-based job matching service where through SMS, so low-level phones, you don't need a super smartphone, employers are able to mass disseminate what job opportunities are available, and potential employees are able to submit a very simple SMS-based CV. So again, leveraging technology to bridge that information gap. Another one I would call the accessibility gap. Again, this idea of where the jobs are and how the private sector can play a bigger role. Companies can do a better job of ensuring that young people on a very sort of local level are actually able to get to work. I mean, the idea of kind of transport is actually something that you don't necessarily think about, but it can prevent people from getting to and in the workplace. The entrepreneurship gap, and again, this is one that's come up and we'll talk more about, but that crosses both the supply and the demand side. On the private sector side, we've heard how supporting incubation, getting engaged in innovative financing models where a company may provide a loan guarantee so that a potential startup can get the credit or the financing it needs to get operational or to even grow their business with a contract. So that side, and then playing a role on the sustainability side, on the demand side of that enterprise, so that we know that young people and their enterprises are successful. I think one of the things that's often left out of the entrepreneurship conversation is how do we ensure that not only do startups happen, but that they're sustainable, that they're successful, that they grow from the one-man, one-woman shop to the bigger business. Because we often know that for young people especially, if they fail in their enterprise, it almost does more damage than had they never even tried. So whether that's ensuring that you are, to the extent possible, bringing young youth-led enterprises into your supply chains and into your value chains, thinking about again how you support
youth-led enterprise from the demand side. Another gap, which relates to some of the work we've been doing on assessing kind of youth well-being at large, and we created recently an index called the Global Youth Wellbeing Index that looked at how young people are doing on 40 indicators in a variety of areas. And one of the things that we found is that we really have to take a closer look at how health, in fact, how a young person's health affects not only their ability to get into the workplace, but to succeed in the workplace. So what is the private sector doing to provide health care, to provide health education, different aspects of that kind of well-being gap, and thinking of the broader holistic needs of young people to be successful getting into the workplace and staying in the workplace. And then lastly, related to that, I would say is that policy and systems gap, which we've started to look at, and the role that private sector can play. And we, understandably, corporations don't always want to engage in sort of policy discussions or advocacy work, but there's the supporting of the data collection, we've talked a little bit about that, the research, the convening of these kinds that can better bring solutions that are working to light so that they can be scaled, better bring the needs of the private sector to the policymakers so that they can act accordingly and create the environments that we need. An example is actually Hilton Worldwide was the principal supporter of the Youth Wellbeing Index exercise. So there's just another example. And in all of those, again, we kind of have to recognize that the private sector, there's a lot it can and should do on its own, but really it comes down often to what we've heard is working collectively, and hopefully we'll have time to come back to that and talk a little bit more about some of the lessons in particular when it comes to partnerships. I'll leave it there for now. Thanks.
Paul, how much of that do we do in the Greek private sector, and specifically Nestlé, which is...
Well, I will not elaborate on the problem because it's been elaborated greatly. I will not elaborate on the need for a coordinated approach. We heard the Trinity in the morning, which I think is a fabulous concept. Private sector, public sector, education, NGOs, foundations, and all these other things. So it has to be done together. We at Nestlé have a long tradition of starting our people young. We start hiring people from schools, from universities. We believe in building their careers, training them. This has been going on for almost 150 years now. But we felt we had to do more because of the companies have an obligation, and for some other reasons I will elaborate later on. And that's why November 15 of last year, we announced a massive program called Nestlé Needs Youth, which is the first coordinated program initiative to boost, create, develop employability of the young people of Europe. It is a big challenge, but our promise is simple. We said that we will create 20,000 jobs, apprenticeships, training opportunities for young people between 2014 and 2016. How are we going to do this? Is with 4 simple pillars. First of all, we commit to hire 10,000 young people during that period across all levels of the organization, in production, in marketing, in sales, in finance, in R&D. Second, to create 10,000 apprenticeships, traineeships, and other types of training opportunities, again, in various areas. Third, to help people get ready for work by participating in multiple events where we provide CV trainings, provide interview tips, provide guidance how to go about getting a job. And last but not least, engaging our more than 60,000 suppliers in Europe to multiply this event, to multiply this initiative, for them to also create opportunities in the services and production and industries that they participate. In fact, the Alliance for Youth, which this fourth pillar encompasses, was officially launched this Monday in Lisbon with the presence of the President of the European Commission, Barroso, government ministers, and many representatives of our suppliers who have engaged. I named some just a few because there were many: AXA, Adecco, Publicis Group, Google, Vodafone, Twitter, and so forth. And this, we believe, has tremendous legs for multiplying, scaling up the event. Now, this has started. It's not simple, and it's the engagement of the organization. We are fully engaged. I am proud to inform you that up to now, we have created about 4,100 such opportunities with about 1,500 full-time jobs, with about 1,500 apprenticeships and traineeships and so forth. And we've got about 1,100 for temporary jobs. Now, coming to Greece, Greece is a key component of that, because in Greece we saw the promise, one of the biggest in the world, and in Europe certainly. And here we have pledged to do 500 jobs in the same 3-year period, which is not a small feat considering that we employ about 1,000 people in Greece. So this is a big number. Again, I'm proud to inform you that until now we've got about 140 jobs already done. So we are progressing very well with this initiative. It is something that is done not only because it is our duty to society, but because we believe it makes good business sense. Our company is a very big proponent of creating shared value. That is, we conduct business in a way that also creates value for society. Historically, we've always done that, and we have framed it under this creating shared value concept recently, but it's been a historical way we conduct business. These jobs need to be jobs that bring value also to our company in the short term and the long term. They cannot be people that will dig holes and then other people that will fill them up. They have to be a return on investment. It has been seen a return on investment. We need the youth to provide that new perspective that is necessary for companies. We need to create our future staffing needs, because we will run out of people if this employment situation continues. We need to create new managers, new consumers, new economic activity, which will benefit society and our company in the same time. So I am very happy to be here. I am looking forward to hearing your ideas and contribution in the Q&A that we have afterwards. And I will pass back to Christina.
To Harry, I guess. And the question here is, we have one good tangible example with specific results and already producing fruits. How can we multiply that? You representing, I mean, the private sector, a big part of the private sector. How can we multiply that? How can we have more companies, small, medium, or large, to commit to the creation of jobs and helping the young people integrate into the market?
Perhaps to say a few words about what we do and then come to answer the question. As you said, I represent a business association. SEV is a leading collective entity in Greece. For this reason, we have a different perspective at national level, let's say, of this issue. And I can only speak about Greece, which is a good example of everything that has gone wrong for a generation on the issue of youth employment. What we try to do is work on four different initiatives. The first three have to do with different parts of the, let's say, different segments of young people. And the fourth is working on the policy implications that come from the first three. So the first one, the first initiative, which in fact was launched during the good times in Greece, which is more than, I think, 12 years ago, has to do with a huge gap that existed and still exists in Greece of young people knowing about what business means. It addresses youngsters at early high school age, and through small seminars, lessons, events, or games to introduce at high school level, also through representatives of actual managers from real companies, to explain what a business is, how it operates, and so on. This has had very good success over the years with a lot of volunteers from the private sector. Still, enormous resistance to become institutionalized in the educational system. The second initiative has to do with creating new businesses. This is one way, of course, for young people to enter the market and to become, let's say, employed. We have focused on a pilot project that has been a bit larger than just a pilot right now, working together with universities and research centers in Greece to help their researchers and postgraduate students with ideas for new products or services to incubate, let's say, new businesses out of them. So we work very much on the first initial link of the whole chain of developing a new company. This is a program that's already in its second year now. We have a goal of 150 cases. We have some early successes already, but it would take me the whole day to explain, because it's a very enthusiastic experience that creates a lot of enthusiasm with young people that succeed in going forward, etc. So this is one specific thing, and it has to do not only with creating new businesses from these people, but to create protocols for the universities themselves on how not to leave these people go out of Greece and follow up their ideas, or just work in very dark research laboratories and staying there for 10 years, but how to become much more productive very quickly. So it has the value, let's say, of paradigm, much more than the actual cases that have given fruit. And we are very happy that this started with only 3 universities. Now it is up to 10, as I said, and 3 research institutions that are feeding us with cases. And this is growing. And we also have already 4 locations already all over Greece helping people. The interesting thing there is that we have a network of very experienced managers from the larger companies within Greece that act as mentors and coaching these guys, and provide also through more organized means consulting services, etc. So this is the second initiative that has to do with creating new businesses out of research ideas. The third initiative has to do with pushing forward as much as we can the ideas of apprenticeship, on-the-job training, or practical training for during graduate studies, and also obtaining the first working experience just after graduation. This is still today a huge black hole in Greece. Although we have very good theoretical university education, it lacks training. Sandwich courses are something that's not very well known what it means. It's connected with food rather than education. What we have tried to do there is to create, let's say, to transfer rather, best practices of what is done in other countries, and push forward with universities to create networking with industry in order to facilitate the process. This is at an early stage, and there are, of course, many niches, let's say, within the universities, because some of the professors do this on their own initiative. It still lacks to be institutionalized and part of the official system. So this is what we're trying to do there, offering again the network of companies that will help this become a success, because of course this is half the job, let's say, finding actual places for all those guys to do their apprenticeship or training on the job, etc. So this is the third initiative. And the fourth is the policy implications, which is our main job, because what we really do is propose policy changes. So we build on the experience of all of the above, and what we try to push the government to adopt policies in the taxation area, to reform the licensing system and the bureaucratic processes, to reform the training systems, as I mentioned already, and other policy initiatives, including financing vehicles, regulation about those, and also some funding sources that already exist through European funds, etc., to create, let's say, the appropriate policy and regulatory framework that is good for new businesses. And now this is not just connected with youth employment, however, it is connected with new businesses in general. It surely covers new businesses by young people. And this is something where progress has not been made yet, but we persevere and keep on pushing. So this is in a few words what we do. And perhaps I can come back.
Thank you, Harry. And Sheila, what about you? What are your best practices, the experiences you've seen, what has worked, what you think is the solution for Greece or countries that are hit hard like Greece in terms of youth unemployment?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk here today. I've spent about the last 15 years or so supporting and working with organizations that have been focused on really growing this approach to employment generally that we are now focusing in terms of how it can be useful for the youth employment crisis, but that's known as sectoral employment in the US context. This morning, I think you heard lots of people talking about the importance of linking to employer demand, and I think sector is less actually about the word sector and the entire sector. It's about targeting towards a specific cluster of occupations and employers that share a common set of factors in the labor market, and a common set of competitive factors, and a common set of labor market practices. Often we see in the US where this approach has grown from just a few organizations being involved in the mid-90s to really being the operating strategic framework for thinking and working across all levels of government, I would say. It's had that kind of growth. And a lot of these efforts work with small and medium businesses, SMEs. And often those are portions of the labor market that really lack their own human resource capacities. These are small companies that may just have the capacity to actually process the paperwork, to move forward to try and figure out how to make a hire. So these we found to be a particularly important thing when you talk about the responsibility of the private sector. In that segment of the economy, I think we've really seen that you need to have mechanisms that help organize those employers in ways in which they can act in concert. So we've seen a range of different organizational types and different strategies emerge over the past decade plus. Certainly at the governmental level, we've seen partnerships emerging that, just as you were talking about, Harris, here is really trying to focus on bringing about the changes in the education system that align to employer demand, and that's been a really important part. And other really important players have been the industry associations. People who are already embedded in the industry, who know what's going on in the industry, and who can pass knowledge and develop mechanisms for getting talent back to the membership companies. That's been an absolutely essential and effective, I think, approach. There's been a large number of community-based organizations involved in this, because I think you need a range of different strategies for the range of different employers we have out there. One size does not fit all. They need to be nuanced to the specific needs of different kinds of employers, and we've seen them do a large range of different things, from research into the labor market needs and publicizing the labor market needs, to operating their own staffing agencies to help staff up companies who are not quite at the stage where they're ready to take the risk on a given young person or a given worker, but this organization will serve as proxy to get them through the door and work across these sets of different organizations. I think that the key roles, these types of different types of associations, and I want to say one other thing. We've also really seen the need for the creation of new organizations, new types of intermediaries that we've come to call workforce intermediaries, who can actually act. They have to have some very important capacities, I think. One of them is to bring together employers and SMEs across traditionally competitive lines, so that they begin to see their common interests. What we've seen a lot of is where there is a skill shortage, and I hope we can explore this issue of skill shortage some more, that you have the picking and stealing from one employer to the other. And what these programs attempt to do, what these strategies attempt to do, is bring together employers, not in an endless set of meetings, but in a set of sort of meetings and action that builds trust and communication, and then allows strategies to emerge out of that. I think that over the past 15 or so years, largely as a result, I would say, of a number of strategic investments by national foundations, we've seen the building, and it's not built, it's not done, we haven't solved it, but the building of a new field of practice, of people and organizations that can work both sides of this issue, truly embedded in an industry, truly understanding what that has to offer, and yet well connected to the supply side, and truly understand how solutions can be made. And I was struck this morning by Harris talking about 10,000 change agents. And one of the things I think that we've found in the US for the success, with all its limitations that we have, has been around building organizations that are kind of change agents. And that this building of a field, building of workers, building of the however many you would need, of these kinds of intermediaries who are focused on change that could look very different organizationally based on what capacities are there, what associations are there, is something that's been really important, and that is a key asset that as we move into working on the young adult employment crisis is there that we'll be focusing on.
Thank you very much. The point you made about the SMEs is important and very relevant to Greece as well, as 75% of the private sector is basically SME, so this is very important, I think. I would like to briefly come back to the issue of scale. We heard this morning that about 1 million jobs were lost during the last 5 years in Greece. So we have a big gap to close in order to get at least back to where we started with. So what does it take to achieve scale, and what can we hope for, and how fast can some big change happen? So whoever can contribute to this question, I'll be glad to hear.
I'll take a first stab and look for others to correct me and or add to. I think one of the common themes that has come up in this conversation is around partnership and collective action, and I really do agree that that's part of what's necessary to get to scale. Part of our work in general, in looking at global development and the changing role, is partnerships. And I think there are a few lessons that we've learned specific to partnerships around youth employment, but that speak generally on what are some of the, call them principles, I guess, of success in these partnerships, whether they be public-private or private-private, whether that's B2B or NGOs, as we're increasingly seeing NGOs working with corporations. And I'd say one of them from the start is this idea of co-designing from the start. As you're beginning to think about a policy change or a program, really talking to each other, bringing the tables together. A little bit this morning, the German system came up in terms of apprenticeships. Now, in a few hours, I may not have as many kind words to say about Germany when our teams kick off in Recife, but for now, some generous words in that one of the benchmark, one of the successes of that system is that the business associations, the vocational and the schools, the government come together very, very closely and design the standards, design the curriculum, choose the occupations that are needed from the beginning. So that's one. Incredibly important, it came up this morning, can't say it enough, engage and listen to youth. I'm very excited for the next session. One of my favorite quotes is from an 18th century philosopher, Joseph Joubert, and he simply said, and I agree, ask the young, they know everything. So engage and listen to young people. Identify and support local champions. I think a lot of times in the conversation about partnerships, policy, systems, corporate engagement, we think about it at the grand scale, the big multinationals. And as you said, 75% here is focused in the small, medium-sized enterprises. So really bringing this to the local and the community level and identifying and bringing the different partners together that can make change at the community level and then scale and share. One point when I was talking about gaps, the idea of data gaps, and that came up this morning as well. But from the beginning of a partnership and a collective action, think critically and considerably about metrics, making sure that we are monitoring, evaluating, and then importantly sharing that information. I think this idea of what works and what doesn't work, we're increasingly learning about what works, but we're not sharing that information, and therefore we can't scale, we can't act on it, we're not collecting the right data, and even if we are, we're not communicating it in a way that it can then be acted on in a scalable and sustainable way. Acknowledge and address risk, that's something that came up this morning, but I think we need to think about that and recognize that we have different risks as different kinds of organizations and act on that. And so lastly, to the point that was raised before, identify core competencies, whether those are the life skills that we talk about, and think how collectively as a sector, as an industry association, companies can come together to think about what are those skills that we all need, those competencies that are priorities for all of us, so that we can think of a way to shepherd those forward. So those are a few thoughts.
Thank you very much. Harry.
Can I say something? Yes. Again, from a different perspective, the problem here is huge in terms of our numbers in Greece. The root cause of this is that our economy is not competitive in the sense that many of our industries have lost competitiveness internationally, and also the state itself and its institutions are not performing efficiently. So the whole thing needs a lot of reforms. One major problem here is that you cannot just pick 3 big things to do. You need to work perhaps at 80 or 90 fronts at the same time, and every one of them is important and they are all interconnected. And so that's what's happening now. That's why many people cannot understand what's going on. It's a very heavy project, not well designed to be sure. Half of it is imposed, the other half is undertaking on our own initiative, so it's a very confusing situation. However, we do have, I think, significant progress, and still more is to be made. Now, that said, I want to point out that you have to make progress on all fronts, which means existing companies have to be, let's say, freed of their problems in terms of bureaucracy and other issues in order to improve their potential, which does exist in Greece. And we do have, even in the crisis, examples of Greek companies, and in fact in several different sectors, that are internationally competitive. So you don't just have to pick one sector, that's what I'm saying, out of what we see around us. The other thing is that you do have to push new people into taking risks for new ventures and so on. There is one point I would like to make here, that in the past in Greece we had done a lot of excesses. One was that we had too many new companies starting up. So we ended up in Greece with a very skewed pyramid of the size of the companies. We are very far from the European average in terms of the number of very small and small companies. I'm talking with the European terms here, compared and very few large companies. In terms of our statistics, this, if you see in cold blood the figures, you would say that you probably have to do away with at least 1/3, if not more, of the small or very small companies. To do away is not the correct word. In theory, if you are a policymaker, what you should be doing is try to make those guys that are small, very small, become small, the small become medium, the medium large. This is the normal process. So you should facilitate this with a number of policy tools, let's say, tax tools, other tools, and change in mentality, which is also an important thing for Greece in this case, for mergers and so on. What has actually happened is that this has not been done by design, but by coincidental distraction, which is because of other reasons, many small companies have been closing down. But this has not been done in an organized manner. So we have social problems because of this. Anyway, what I'm trying to point out is that we should not repeat this example, because if you overdo it with the new, smaller companies, and you create small new companies that are not competitive even at the beginning, competitive internationally, they don't have a competitive advantage, something new to offer, then you get back into the trap, which is part of our problem today. A significant part of the unemployed today, of the 1 million plus, comes from those smaller companies that have closed down because there was no place for them in the market. So just as a negative point, I'm saying this here.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to add on scalability and what we can hope for?
Just very brief comment. I think it's been mentioned here and there, but I want to synthesize it. The task is enormous. 1 million jobs, 600,000 jobs, it doesn't matter, it's a lot. 80, 90 fronts, coordination by everybody. We have to be careful to not expect the master solution and work all together for 100 years from now, have the master solution instead of acting now. I think this is a message that I want to send. We as a company are acting now. You heard about our alliance. I heard AXA is doing 10,000 job commitment, one after the other, with big commitments, the others, the small, with small commitments. We have to walk to get there. This is just the message. To get the scale, we have to start now, not wait until we've got the master solution.
So piece by piece, and
Yes.
Pilot by pilot.
Yes. Trial and error, programs will work and then they'll fail and we'll adjust them and move on. But we need to act. We cannot wait.
Thank you. Sheila, would you like to add something?
In the spirit of the multiple small solutions towards scale, I think one of the theories behind the idea of focusing on a set of occupations in a given geographic area and really looking at what the human resource needs are is that if you find what the competitive advantage is and you develop the human resource relative to that competitive advantage, then you have the opportunity where you're really using your human resource strategy. And in this case, I'm talking often across companies in order to build that industry. So for example, in a small county in Pennsylvania, Lancaster County, big furniture makers. What's the competitive advantage against the kitchen cabinets being made in China? One of them is a very special finish that goes on the cabinet. But what was clear when local organizations started working with that set of employers is that that was a dying craft. And there was nobody in that area who was training for that. They were sending people to another state. And so by bringing in that particular capacity, they were able to grow the competitive advantage through growing the human resource system and again across companies. So I think the promise of scale in the framework of working in this collective way is about trading on human capital as your competitive advantage.
what I wanted to add is that these are the quick wins. We need to work on the quick wins and then work on the long-term wins, which are the education system reform, changing the whole system. And actually, the other thing is that we already identified the gaps. And we know that a sector, our businesses like the SMEs are in great need of calibers and youth to work for them. That's why we need to change the mindsets. I mean, and I'm specifically talking about Egypt because everyone is hoping at graduating from university and getting to be a manager or joining the greatest multinational company ever in the whole world. And these are the types of mindsets that we need to change. We need to change the mindset of the youth, and we need to change the mindset of the companies, not to search for experienced calibers, but to strive to educate and train these calibers.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And at this point, I mean, we've heard about a lot of discussion has been made on sectors and where to focus on, and you mentioned the word quick wins. So at this point, I would like to engage the audience a little bit and put up a question for voting, and then our panelists can comment on the question. So I would like to put up the question, which of the following sectors offers to young people the best possible employment opportunities? And we have the answers are agriculture, hospitality industry, technology, public sector, services industry, and healthcare. So please take your voting machines and start voting now. Yes, yes. There we go. So agriculture, 23%, hospitality industry, 17%, technology, 34%. There you go, Indy. Public sector, 4%, services, 17%, and healthcare, 4%. Samer, I will start with you. You're in the construction industry, and obviously it's not in the list. I mean, construction especially was one of the hardest hit. I think in Greece about 200,000 jobs were lost. And this is double than what was created in the last decade. So we're talking about a huge loss of jobs. So what do you do in such an environment? Do you just focus on alternative, different sectors? And which one should it be from your perspective?
From engineering and construction perspective, I think with this huge number of, because there were so many jobs the last 10 years, they were dropped. I think the only solution is that a big number of the people have to work abroad. And there are opportunities abroad. They can go for 2-3 years and then come back. Because I don't think the current market and the economic growth in Greece will support keeping the people working here. So I think in the engineering and construction industry, and we are seeing it a lot right now, we are finding many of the large Greek contractors and engineering companies going abroad. And I think this is a good solution, a good solution for the Greek companies and for the Greek engineers.
It may be a quick
win.
A quick win, well, quick solution for sure. I mean, I'm sure. What do the rest of our panelists have to say? Should be focused on specific sectors, the ones that seem to have the biggest opportunity at this point in time? Do you agree with the audience recommendation as to what sectors we should be picking up?
Well, I think
Paul.
The word best or most makes a big difference. Maybe technology offers the best opportunities because it's an up-and-coming field with a lot of innovation and so forth. But I think if we're looking at finding 1 million jobs, agriculture, hospitality, services, and healthcare, I will not say public sector. I'm surprised that healthcare comes the same as public sector, to be honest with you, even though very low, offer much more opportunity numbers. And also should not be underestimated in terms of innovation and value-adding jobs. One of the things that has been mentioned in recent studies is that the companies that are created in Greece are also not companies in great value-adding dimensions, which are the ones that can be competitive and can create more employment. But I think in all these sectors, we heard the minister about various areas of tourism that combine some of those things that we saw here, agriculture and healthcare. So I think we should not underestimate the capacity of the strength of the country, the hospitality, the agriculture, and the healthcare and services.
Harry.
A comment I would like to make answers a different question than the one you asked. And I am very happy to see the public sector so low. This is a reverse, a very important shift in trend. The opposite existed for the previous 180 years probably in Greece, which had the public sector as the star sector. This has been reversed over the past 3 years. And I think that it is the start of a mentality shift in the Greek labor market generally and among the youth in particular, which for me is positive because we are preparing for a more productive, let's say, era in the future. So I think it's a good sign.
Just to follow up quickly on something ENG said, and this idea of kind of expectations management and the mentality and mindsets. I mean, I think it's interesting, and I'd be curious if this was a room full of young people, if the results would be the same. But when you see hospitality and agriculture being lower, I think part of that speaks to, again, the challenge of attracting young people into these industries. And I think that's where the incentives from both the private sector side and their own kind of corporate incentives, as well as from the public sector and the policy side, to better engage and bring young people into these sectors, because I think there are a lot of opportunities. And I was in the agriculture breakout session earlier, but there is still this this challenge of not only with the young people themselves, but with families often that still shape, not for every young person, but in many societies, families and parents still play quite a role in the decisions that young people make in choosing their career path or their education and training path. So I think it's just something that this really stands out to me.
Sheila?
I'm going to come at this slightly differently and say not so much relative to the answers here in terms of what particular industries are targeted, but the place you stand when you target. And I think our experience is you have to stand in the local and regional labor market, and that we've had some pretty scary experiences and where there's been an aspirational target around, for example, green jobs in the US, where you've seen a mandate come out saying this is the sector we want, and then groups on the ground struggle to find, well, where's the real demand? Where's the real competitive edge? What's really going on? And discovering, gosh, it didn't work. So I think that it's regional and it's local, and it's looking through that lens that's important in figuring out what are the right set of industries to target.
Thank you. Indy, you seem to be in the right sector, however, so any insights from your side?
Actually, I'd say that this sector is really very attractive, especially to youth, because everyone wants to work in a very dynamic and a very competitive industry, and this industry is offering such an environment. Also, the whole ecosystem of the online industry and the technological industries in general is very rewarding, and it requires less. I mean, less hassle than any other industry, I would say. And I really think it's, I mean, even in Egypt, in Arab countries, in Gulf, and even in Europe, this industry is very attractive. That's why I would say it got this high percentage. Yeah.
I would like to put up one more question for voting and see what you have to respond to that as well before we go to the audience questions. So the question is, what should parents advise their children? And the answers are: attain as much education as possible for as long as possible, focus on a vocation that has better employment prospects, leave the country to get a job, and allow them to figure things out on their own. So if you can once again take your voting machines and start voting now. Well, so this is interesting. They should do, and we're going to hear more from the young people right at the next session. So I think that the message is going to be loud and clear. But apart from what the audience is saying now, what is your advice as private sector to the young people? What kind of commitment can you make to the young? And what do you tell the thousands of unemployed that are currently seeking for a job?
I would say focus on the industry that you feel has the best future to be competitive and work in Greece. Because some of the industries, I think, as you correctly said, will not survive in long term. So we have to focus together on the businesses that has a long-term perspective to succeed.
I wanted to elaborate more on this very specific question because I'm kind of representing also the younger generation. And that's part of what the technology, such an industry is giving us, which is joining the industry while being very young in age. Actually, my answer to this question would have been none of the above, because I wouldn't want myself or my parents to let me figure out what can I do, because at some point at some point I would need guidance, because such guidance is not given and is not a part of our educational system, unfortunately. I have to say so. So I think the role of the parents and the role of elder generations is to guide youth on at least how to take their decisions and give them like a way to evaluate and assess their current situation and how they should react towards certain circumstances, I would say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One line of advice before we go to the audience, like short.
Follow your passion. That may be a luxury, but that would be the advice where you can. If you're passionate about something, you'll find a way to make it work.
Thank you, Nicole.
My advice is grab all opportunities, try things. So the last one, yes, let them figure it out, but by trying things, exploring opportunities, seeing, closing that perception gap that was mentioned in the morning, that information gap, that expectation gap. Go out, try things, see what suits you, see what's right for you, and see what's right for the sector that is possibly going to employ you.
Thank you.
Follow your passion is what I tell my two boys, actually, who are looking for a job. However, there are two problems. One is that not all young people do have a passion. And the second is that the hard reality is that most young people will be out of a job, however hard they look, for some years in Greece. So the second piece of advice probably is learn as much as you can, any year you can, and if possible, do this within the context of a company, by training, etc. So,
sure. Thank you,
I
Harry.
would say it's down now, but the top one and the second one aren't mutually exclusive. Going for the immediate employment prospects while getting as much education as you like, and this whole idea of kind of stackable credentials where you get some credential, some immediate employment prospect, go back and add to it, go to work, go back to add to it, is certainly in the conversation in the environment I'm in. It's not as much in practice as it needs to be, but I think that that's another important way to look at it.
Thank you very much. So I'm told we have 5 to 10 minutes for questions from the audience. So I'm sure the young will have a lot of questions for our panelists. The lady in the front. And you're going second. We have the lady here. Can we have a microphone, please? Please tell
Hello.
us your name and organization.
Yeah.
And
My name is Ghada Saoudi. I'm an EFE graduate. I'm also an estimation engineer at Consolidated Contractors Company, CCC. We all know that young people are paying a high price due to the current economic situation. So I would like to ask you, do you think that big companies from the private sector should be forced, that can afford to take on young people, should be forced to do so?
well, we have some big companies here. Would you like to address the issue, the question, Paul?
I don't think they should be forced to, because the ones that do their job are doing it on their own.
I mean, as far as force, but I would say, I mean, there are a couple of interesting policy efforts now, again, on the incentive side, not on the force side, that we just don't quite have the evidence, but on wage subsidies. In South Africa has a new wage subsidy. Of course, the EU wage subsidy. So I think, you know, the jury's still out on you know, the success of those. But from a policy force perspective, I'll defer to my corporate colleagues.
Thank you. The gentleman in the front.
I would have expected from the private sector to say something about clustering. I think that in Europe, the next framework program, Horizon 2020, and RIS, is having as a, I would say, key word clustering. I think that we have to unite and then specialize in the area of unification. Think of the automotive Spitzencluster in Germany. In the last 10 years, the employment has risen by 230%. Can you imagine that? So I would have expected, what would you say, Nadine? I think that you spoke, Nicole, you spoke about collaboration. I think this is the key word, complementarity and collaboration. Clustering, nobody spoke about clustering.
I know the term, industrial districting is sort of another phrase on clusters. I think there's some opportunity. I'd be interested to hear from our colleagues. I've done some work on clusters in the past. And again, it comes back to this idea of creating, whether it's value chains and supply chains, that's sort of another form of clustering, if you will, not necessarily regionally geographied. I think also with clustering, you also need to think about infrastructure, if you're manufacturing, you're clustering, getting to market, but also the idea, sorry, I just lost my train of thought, but of, again, the standardization of the skills and the transferability of the skills, because you can create a cluster, but what if the businesses that are supporting that cluster ultimately fade away, or the industry moves, if you will? Again, it's about having a transferable, mobile workforce that's adaptable. I think is something that we see globally as a key need. But it's an interesting point.
Would you like to add to this?
This is a good point, but what I would say would be appropriate for Greece is what Sheila here was speaking about, which is clustering in a more relevant and specific form that has to do with opening up possibilities for youth employment, let's say. So if we should be doing something, it should be in this way that was described previously. Perhaps with a different terminology, but it's still in the sense that the question was made, I think.
Gentlemen? And then we have one more question, I think. We don't have...
Would you say that parenting and schooling in Greece is preparing people to grab opportunities or to cultivate their passion?
Who would like to answer that? Paul.
He has two sons. I have one daughter. She's too young to be ready for employment. But I think the parents do their best to their ability. You know, I think every parent, it's not in Greece or anywhere else, do the best they can. They encourage their children. We saw the answer. I don't know how many of the people that answered were Greek, how many have children. They give space to their children to do what they want. We heard one American, one Greek colleague here talk about go after your passion. So yes, there is stories about overprotective, you know, family environment and so forth. But I think they do give good advice. It would be good to help the parents also understand the perception and expectation gap, so that the parents don't always think that the only thing their child could be is a brain surgeon. But other than that, I think we are in reasonably good territory. I don't know, you are the other Greek on the panel.
Well, perhaps I can say at least one word that you mentioned was in my mind. Mine is the first generation that has not lived through at least 3 wars, and some of them civil clashes, which is very hard for a nation. At least 2 of the wars that the previous generations have lived through were absolutely destructive for the country, and the last one lasted almost 10 years, which included the Civil War. Now, some people say that this is why the generation of our parents, and this has influenced us also, were extremely overprotective. They lived through much better times, and they wanted to create for us an environment that is the one they missed. So this has created a lot of overprotection, and I think we still suffer from this. But perhaps for the generation of our children, this is not so much important, because they always find their own way. The young people, they don't depend too much. The other point is that we have learned, because of these older experiences, national experiences, it is very difficult for us to convey a collective approach to how people think. So I think this is more detrimental to what we convey to our youth, that we don't train them enough in having a collective feeling of how they should approach their problems. Although they are better than us at that, I feel, however, not good enough as the problems they are facing now, which we have inherited to them also.
Thank you, Harry. One more, well, 2 more questions then. 2 more questions and we have to wrap up. The lady in the front.
2 short questions, please, addressed mainly to the Greek panelists. First question, I would like to ask if you believe that the state is giving initiatives to private companies to recruit young people, initiatives as, for example, tax evasion or medical care. And the second question is, obviously it's quite important to recruit people and give them the training and create internship opportunities and so on. But I was wondering, if there's no demand in the workforce, could supply in the long term create a demand? Is supply enough in order to, in the long term, provide a solution to the problem of unemployment? Thank you.
Any volunteers?
For the first question, the answer is, I think, simply no. So it's a very short answer. And the second question is whether supply can eventually create demand. Eventually, yes, in the long term, but here we have a short and medium term to look at. I don't believe it can. So we must take advantage of the gap between the short and medium term and the long term, and try to work on improving the qualifications of our young people even more, in the sense that was also mentioned before. The stackable idea, I think, is the best way to put it, although it cannot be translated into Greek. And this in itself is a problem.
Thank you. Last question, please, if there is one. Mrs. Linou.
And I want to just inquire, no matter what we do to improve the employability of our young generation, either by providing them skills or teaching them flexibility to move in and out of Greece, if the supply of jobs is not there, what can we do? And throughout the day-to-day, I heard a lot about the improvement of the opportunities of the youth in terms of their personal improvement and attainment, but I didn't hear a lot about who is the elders, let it be public, private sector, what shall we do to increase the number of available jobs?
This is not a direct answer in one sense, but I think that really focusing on what is needed on the supply side. For example, I think about the question, the focus on skills alone, I think is a mistake. It's skills plus the ability to sort and connect. I think one of the problems employers have in this economy is they're inundated. And sorting through to who is the qualified worker to hire is in and of itself a job and a half. So I think that it's really important to increase the connection, pieces of connection between the supply and demand. And I do really believe, for example, very quickly, one project I'm working in, everybody wants drivers. Drivers. And in New York City, not a lot of young people don't drive, they have cars. But I think when you look at it, that employer actually can only retain 25% of their workforce past 90 days. So the solution is not always the skills. It's the skills plus working with employers in a wide variety of ways to make sure that that everybody is fully utilizing the human resource that's available to them. And I think that will release some more productivity.
I'll pick up from where you left it, and partly to wrap up the session and also responding to the question. I think that what we've seen here is that we're in a situation where there's not enough workers for high-skilled jobs, there's not enough jobs for low-skilled workers, and there's not enough skilled business owners. And added to that, market dynamics and demographics are changing. To address the issue of youth unemployment in Greece, but also in many countries, I think it needs work on multiple fronts. It's about the public sector, it's about investments, it's about growth strategy, education, skills development, training, regulatory changes, and the whole lot. It's something that cannot happen overnight, but for sure we have to start with pilot initiatives and expand as the success comes. It may mean that finding jobs has to be done in the non-traditional sectors, or even it may mean going out of the country to get a job to begin with. But what's for sure is that it requires immediate action, it requires coordinated action from all sectors, and it requires also commitment from all stakeholders, private sector included. So having said that, I would like to thank our panelists for their insights and contribution, and also the audience for their participation. Thank you very much.
Whatever.
Ιωάννα, Μυρτώ.
So the first one to start is motivation. But for example, if I say motivation, Joanna, that's not you. If I say,
Okay, and I will have the list.
yeah, where's the other one?
The one is next to me sitting is this one.
Yes.
And the other one here next to you is this one.
Because it's
Joanna.
written
Joanna.
differently. Yeah. But if I say brain drain, you know it's you. Okay? We won't sit with brain drain.
Ιωάννα, θα κάθομαι εγώ δίπλα σου εδώ.
Oh, sorry. Watch out with your feet because I need to move here. I'm standing up at the beginning. Then I will sit, when you will talking, I'll sit down all the time, okay? The audience is everywhere.
It's time for a picture.
Where's the camera, in fact? You're right.
Κοιτάει.
I'm going to.
Εστάρι.
Κοιτάει τα φλάς.
Ευχαριστούμε και εμείς.
Σε βγάζουν φωτογραφία. Σε βγάζουν εκεί φωτογραφία.
Στο κανάλι έχει συνδέσει, έτσι. Κανάλι 1 και 2. Το κανάλι 1 είναι τα αγγλικά. Το κανάλι 2 είναι για ελληνικά.
Και τραβάω, πούσι τραβάω. Θέλω να πάω για πάνω στη θάλασσα. Στη θάλασσα θέλω να πάω.
Welcome to the final panel of our first day. As you will see in the program, this is titled, You Got to Listen to Me, What the Youth Have to Say About Youth Unemployment. We have a large panel here, as you can see, and our own Asimina Kutrubusi did a great job in setting this living room up. Why we're doing this? We can't really be discussing youth unemployment without involving the youth. We need to hear what actually the younger generations are dealing with in terms of problems. That's a representative of the younger generation with problems and challenges. This is May, by the way. So we need to engage the people that are actually affected by the current situation in this discussion. And we are very privileged to have here with us tonight a group of very special and talented people from all over the world, and not just Greece. To a great majority, some of the panelists, yes, they are from Greece because they are experiencing all these difficulties that everyone knows that people are going through these days. So we have here a broad representatives from a broad age range, from 19 to mid and late 30s. We have people who are talented, scholars of various prestigious institutions, such as MoMA or the Pasteur Institute, young, persistent entrepreneurs, young people who have experienced firsthand accessibility problems, problems dealing with how do you access the employment, the job market when you are qualified, but no one really gives you the opportunity to just, start your own job or enter the market. So we'll all embark on this dialogue tonight, and I'm very happy to be sharing this panel in terms of moderating it. Maria Orejas, who is the director of the thematic networks of the European Foundation Center, and Maria will tell you a bit about the structure of the session.
Thank you, Lenia. As this will be the last panel of this intense day, yet very interesting but intense, we thought about introducing a little game element to keep the energy up for this closing and to make the most of the talent that we have here. So the challenger Lenia has thought of will allow the panelists to build a story about what they have to say on this important issue to them. And the way in which the challenger works is that we have first asked all the panelists being here today to provide us 2 keywords related to the matter that meant something to them. We have compiled those words, and then we are going to randomly distribute them back to them. And we'll go for 2 tours of this, so each of them will receive 1 keyword. And then hopefully we will have enough time to receive some input from the floor, either in the shape of a keyword that comes to your mind, either you want to ask a question about one of the personalized stories that you have heard during the presentation. We will start first with a brief introduction about all the panelists who are here with us today, a very brief one. You have more details in the program about who they are, and we are too many to go in depth. And we'll have to also look at the time and not go in the stories too long, because right after this session we will go live.
Mm-hmm.
So
we can start with introductions. I have next to me Ioana Maria Gertsu. Ioana, would you like to say 2 words about yourself?
Hello, my name is Ioana Maria Gertsu. I'm 35 years old, and I am the founder of Lara Guide Dog School, which is the first guide dog-related organization in Greece.
Hello, I am Evi Stamatiu. I am a Greek London-based theatre practitioner and educator. I'm a higher education lecturer in performing arts and program coordinator at Bath Spa University in England, a PhD candidate at Royal Centre School of Speech and Drama, University of London, and I also work as a freelance theatre director, actor, and solo performer internationally.
Hello, my name is Angeliki Kounava. I'm 29 years old, and I'm doing a year-long internship at the Museum of Modern Art, sponsored by the Stavros Niarchos Foundation.
Hi, my name is Catherine Gordillo, and I'm from Colombia. I'm 25 years old, but I currently reside in Boston. I work at Wellington Management Company as assistant analyst.
So, sorry, I wanted to speak Greek. My name is Leonidas Ektoras. I'm 19 years old. I like football. I want to become a professional footballer, and my hobby is music. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dimitra Nikolou. I'm 27 years old. And I'm also a 12-month intern at the Museum of Modern Art in New York at the Department of Architecture and Design.
Hello, everyone. I would like to thank, first of all, the Stavros Niarchos Foundation for the invitation. My name is Fanny Koukouli. I'm working at the Institut Pasteur in Paris, where I'm doing my PhD
on the role of nicotine in Alzheimer's disease.
Hello, I am Lida Manturani. I am co-founder of Culture Play, a startup that promotes cultural heritage with various new technologies. We're currently hosted at Orange Grove, an incubator for startups managed by the Dutch Embassy in Athens.
Hi everyone, thank you for the invitation. My name is Aris Konstantinidis. I'm 23 years old, graduate from the Business Administration Department of Athens University of Economics and Business, and I'm the co-founder of Glovo, which is a global volunteers platform that empowers and mobilizes young people by connecting them to volunteer actions and events all over the world.
Hello everybody. My name is Konstantinos Kavakiotis. I am 34 years old. I consider to be an actor, and I don't know why I'm so stressed now. I am a lecturer in the University of Macedonia in Thessaloniki, and also a visiting lecturer in Royal Central School of Speech and Drama. Plus, I am the founder of Drama Classes London. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ioli Andreadi. I am 32 years old, and I am a freelance theater director. I work internationally, and I'm also an educator, currently based at the giving workshops at the Visitors Center at the Stavros Niarchos site, and I hold a PhD in English from King's College, London.
Hi everybody, my name is Ziad Dahmani. I am an EFE alumnus. I am 26 years old, Tunisian civil engineer. Actually, I am working with the CCC in Qatar in construction as a site construction engineer. Thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Sandra Gandialeze. I'm from Bethlehem, Palestine. I work as a reservation manager at the hotel in Bethlehem. I graduated 2013 from EFE. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Joanna Theodorou. I'm 24 years old and I'm Greek, and I'm the co-founder of Reload Greece, a London-based initiative to engage Greeks abroad to contribute to the future of Greece through entrepreneurship. Thank you.
So thank you for the introductions. Are you ready to play? Let's start with our first keyword. Whoops, sorry. It's the word opportunity. Kat, what does this mean to you?
So at the age of 12, I moved to the United States, and after graduating from high school, I wasn't sure if I wanted to continue with the regular education, that means going to college, and I had some restraints financially. So I worked for 2 years, and then I heard about Europe. So Europe gave me the opportunity to get skills in the IT field for 6 months. And in addition to that, I took classes in customer service. They gave me feedback, business communication. And then after the 6 months were done, I was given the opportunity to work at Wellington Management as an intern. After working there for 6 months, I was given the opportunity of getting hired, and I've been there for 5 years in total. So I guess Europe gave me the opportunity and opened the doors to get my foot up the door at Wellington Management. And that also gave me the chance to continue with my education. I'm now a senior in college, and I should be graduating next year.
Thank you, Kat.
Interesting story. We received this other word that is modern education. So Sid, what would that mean to you?
Thank you. Since I was in university, I was planning to get a nice job, actually. So I focus on having a good education. Education in universities are outdated, to be clear, in my country, and I think in all countries where rate of unemployment is high. So we have to improve the methods and the programs in universities to have a modern education. What is better to start building a new strategy between the universities and the professional market for the job offers with starting the education, with having a good basic stone to build a new, to have a nice building that can improve all the employment system. Thank you.
The word promotion, I wonder, Sandra, does it ring any bells?
Yeah. Well, it means a lot to me because after graduation from university, I spent 3 years working so hard to get the next level. And then after 3 years, I discovered that it's not working with me in the old job. So I decided to move it, and to move from the old job. I applied for an EFE hospitality program, and after this program, I applied for another new job. And within a year and a half, I become, from a receptionist to a reservation, to a supervisor, and now I work as a reservation manager in 1 year and a half. Yeah, that's it.
Well done.
Congratulations. Yeah. So our next one is brain drain. So Joanna, would you like to take that one?
Okay, I'll take this one. So that's an issue that we hear a lot about lately because people are scared of unemployment, so they're considering going abroad. I did the opposite. I lived my whole life abroad, and I came back to Greece about a year ago. And I think that's where the sticking point is. The problem is that people are going abroad because it's a good thing. You get the experience. Problem is that they're afraid to come back, and that was one of the reasons why we tackled this sort of questions with Reload Greece, is that we need to show ourselves and other people just like us that don't want to be a lost generation, that there are reasons to believe in Greece, and with the right support and the right help, there are actually reasons to come back and turn the brain drain into a brain gain. And I think that's a very important target for us to set.
Thank you for that.
We have the word studies. Well, it's a rather broad subject, but Angeliki, does it mean anything special to you?
So, I have studied fine arts and sciences of art in the University of Ioannina, and then I did my master in history of art in Paris. I'd like to talk a little bit about my bachelor degree from Fine Arts and Sciences of Art, a department founded in 2000 in the University of Ioannina. My decision back then as a high school student was definitely based on my love for art, and it's definitely a decision I do not regret. My degree has been fully accepted and respected both in Paris and New York. It's the degree that has given me now the opportunity to work at MoMA and with the chief curator of photography. Unfortunately, though, in Greece from 2004, when the first students graduated, until today, it has been completely ignored and excluded from all job positions announced by the Ministry of Culture and Ministry of Education. Recently, there was a regulation that constituted working rights for the graduates, but all of us who got into university before 2006, we remain excluded. So I just wanted to say that I'm not the only one from this department, especially, that we seek a better future abroad, where our studies and our efforts are given the value they are worth. Thank you.
Thank you. All very powerful stories, right? We have the next word that would be motivation for Joanna. So, would you?
Yes, I have. Yes. Okay, motivation is a natural force that which derives from the cognitive and biological need of people for security and self-esteem, and all of us in this highly competitive society that we live on, we strive for motivation through love, money, success, a good career, etc., etc. But despite the fact that motivation is an interactive process, we tend to forgive especially the one of us who happen to be in a superior, we tend to forget, especially the one of us who happen to be in a superior position, that we also, it's our duty to create motives for people who cannot find them themselves. So my duty is to provide motivation to people who are visually impaired so they can go out independently and seek for a job and have a career in a country where 95% of visually impaired people are currently unemployed. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. We move on to the word science. Fanny, I know you are currently doing your PhD with Pasteur Institute. So would you like to tell us a few things about what this word means to you?
The word science gives me now the opportunity to share with you my personal story and to explain to you how difficult it is to follow a scientific career here in Greece. In 2003, I was selected in a pharmacy school in the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki, and being aware of the fact that I'm coming from a family with no pharmacies, I wanted to build up immediately a very strong CV in order to be able to find a job after my studies. What I did was to become a member of a research group studying neurodegeneration in Aristotle University. I liked science very much. I worked to this lab for 5 years, 3 years as an undergraduate student and 2 years as a master's student, never being paid. I finished my master's thesis and I wanted to continue doing science in a PhD level. I had a very hard time to find a funded PhD position here in Greece. So I took the decision that I have to live abroad in order to continue conducting research. I found the international PhD program at the Institut Pasteur in Paris, and I was selected among 250 candidates all over the world. The positions were only 9, only one position in my field in neuroscience. My program is funded by Stavros Niarchos Foundation, and it gave me the opportunity to interact with prestigious scientists and also take another scholarship in Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory in New York. So in the session we had in the morning, I would like to be honest with you, I was really bothered because I heard Greeks are not well educated. Greeks, they don't have skills. What the Greek state really does for Greeks that they have skills, they have passion, and they are talented. Thank you.
Thank you, Fanny.
Thank you for that pledge. We will go to the next word now for Evie. So that would be world citizenship.
You missed one.
No.
I will,
oh, sorry. In fact, it's fine.
It's okay.
Yes.
World citizenship. I am a citizen of the world, but with a Greek identity, which started from a curse, but it ended up to be a blessing. I left Greece in 2009 for studies, but also to work internationally. And it's a very competitive field, performing arts, so actually very often I do hit a wall. And every time I do hit a wall, my mom from Ioannina tells me, darling, you've gone too far. It's okay, come back home. So I try occasionally to come back home, but the problem is the door is closed. And I don't know if you've ever felt you've left your keys in your apartment or you lost your keys. So I decided, instead of breaking it down, because it wouldn't suit my work anyway, to embody home. So I decided to carry home, which is the Greek identity and the Greek culture, and share its beauty with the rest of the world. In May, I did an adaptation of Aristophanes' The Frogs in England, and the theme was European citizenship. In August, I'm taking my solo performance Caryatid Unplugged in a festival in Estonia, and it's about the ancient Greek column and also that as a metaphor for human trafficking. My vision is a performance that will be highly entertaining as Aristophanes' work, because laughter does unite people. And at the same time, it will be inclusive. It will facilitate a discussion with the audience. It will be interactive in the sense of a prototype of the ancient Athenian democracy. And it's not a political performance, it's a politiki performance in this, with the sense of Aristotle's politiki as the good of the city. And this city for me now is the world. So I thank very much, I'm very grateful to my Greek identity and culture and the Greek crisis actually, because it has inspired and defined my vision for a performance that is from and for world citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. So to a large extent, it depends on how you see the glass, half full or half empty, because you're thankful for the crisis.
You can ask my mom about that.
So let's go one slide back. Faith, πίστη, Έκτορα.
Εγώ αυτή τη λέξη την έβαλα.
Well, I have this in my vocabulary, and I use it frequently because I believe if there's faith, will, and love in what you do, and I can say that sports has taught me this full well because I've been doing it for the last 6 years or so. I believe that if somebody wants and believes, and despite the difficulties to attain a dream, I think they will manage to do so. And something that I learned at school, although I was not a very good pupil, I must admit, I have Ulysses' journey in mind, that despite the adverse conditions and all the unpleasantness, Ulysses managed to arrive back home. And that's what I think will happen for me and football. Well, we hope that's the case.
We've just heard from being a citizen of the world. So now we'll go to identity as opposite to that. So Yoli, would you like to tell us something about this word?
By identity, what I understand from this word, like its meaning to me, is identifying with oneself and having somehow the image we have for ourselves and our ego become one. As this sense of identity is endangered during unemployment, during a period or periods of unemployment. As Jimmy Nelson showed us and told us earlier about losing his hair and his perception of himself changing, unemployment has a similar effect to people of all ages. So it is something that its effects need to be cured. And a person has to have a very strong, a very stable sense of identity in order to overcome this challenge, which, however, remains a big challenge because as the philosopher Roberto Esposito says, a person who has an office to perform is communis. A person who has no office to perform is immunis and therefore ingratus, ungrateful. So ungratefulness goes both ways. When society, community, is ungrateful to individuals, individuals too can be ungrateful to the communities they belong to, the society, etc. So it's perhaps a word that needs to be taken into account when trying to tackle unemployment. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Yoli. Very nice. Well, that's a difficult word, precariousness. Dimitra, what do you feel about this word?
Okay, this word and what it represents has been the cause of many headaches, sleepless nights, and endless conversation with many of my friends who go through the same things as I am. I'm 27 years old. When I left Greece, I had already completed my first studies, and the crisis was at its beginning, so I feel that most of us could not predict the severity and the extent of the crisis. And it was a common practice 4.5 years ago, and still in the past, that after the first studies in a Greek university, someone would travel abroad for a year to enrich his academic and professional background, and then come back to Greece and work here, offer whatever he had to offer, and even more. After the first year and after my master's degree, it became really hard to come back. It's extremely hard because it's not only a financial crisis, it's mostly a systemic crisis. So when a system does not function properly, you don't only have to fight with financial difficulties, that with the help of your parents, which is not ideal, but you can overcome with the help of your relatives. But when the system does not function, you have to fight with a monster. So every year it becomes harder and harder to come back, but I'm still optimistic. And we keep saying with my friends every year, next year, it will work out and we'll be back in Greece. Next year, it will work out and we will go back to Greece. Well, 4.5 years have passed. And the only thing I can say is that maybe next year we'll be happy enough to come back.
Hopefully we can meet here next year and you can tell us.
Hopefully it will be. The next word we have is cooperation. With Lida, would you like to take the floor now? Yes.
Cooperation. I think it's my guiding principle in forming a business. For a long time, I've been brainstorming with friends and acquaintances about what wonders we could make with the use of cultural heritage. And I think the prospect of engaging with like-minded people in a creative process of materializing ideas exactly as you have them in mind, and of making a living really with by working with friends. I think that's what led me to start looking for ways to form a cooperative entity that will be economically viable, but that would also create new employment prospects in Greece. So moving on to the startup phase, cooperation actually became a resource and perhaps also a strategy. As we had no funding to begin with and no resources, we decided to break down the development of our products in small and manageable tasks that could be undertaken by any interested party in their free time, and that would give them the prospect of reward in the long run. And that's how we approached and managed to convince individuals of the value of our work, and in time to engage their professional skills on a pro bono basis. Getting deeper into the business environment, we realized that we began to cherish cooperation with established organizations as well. We found out that in this period of crisis, larger entities are more inclined perhaps to listen to and support new ideas, which new ideas for many are actually
new ideas for these larger corporations perhaps could work as incentives for their transition to a new collaborative economy. That's how we saw it. But beyond that, for us, cooperation with larger entities is credibility. It increases our credibility and it helps us develop our professionalism. So we are looking out for cooperations a lot. So overall, I think cooperation as a resource and as a method has given us the strength and confidence and a strong team with whom we are able to overcome, rise beyond the obstacles of our age and proceed with our plans. So, thank you.
Thank you. So, Ari, let's see what you have. You have the word redefine. What does it mean to you?
Okay. So redefine means giving new meaning to something. Redefining volunteerism was actually the reason why we launched Glovo 2 years ago. So redefine is a word that I actually use a lot. I will begin by posing a question. How can we define the words ideal job? Okay. A few years ago, I would say that the ideal job is a job that gives you a high salary and few working hours and perhaps a very good working environment. But I think that nowadays things have changed a lot. So with all the non-viable economies that have been emerging all those years and the activation of youth and the unsustainable growth, nowadays young people cannot even identify or seize the opportunities that appear around them. So in order to re-empower young people and tackle youth unemployment, I believe that we should try to redefine our perception of the ideal job or ideal career path. So nowadays we have people that finish school, they follow the traditional way, finish school, then enter university, and eventually end up acquiring skills that are useless in the labor market. So we see that we can identify a lot of gaps in there. And I believe that we should try to close those gaps and try to create cooperations and synergies between not only the government, but also companies, NGOs, and institutions, so that we can utilize all those talents and the skill set that the new generation has. So I saw the last question from the previous panel. I think it was the last one. And a lot of you people voted that we should let young people figure out what they are going to do with their lives. I agree. I believe that every young people nowadays should just pick something that he or she enjoys doing and is good at, try to become better every day, work harder, and eventually this will lead him or her to become one of the best at this. And then this will bring success one day, and I believe that the high salary and all the rest will eventually follow. So let's try to bring young people closer to the labor market and help them acquire the skills that they truly need and redefine what we consider as the ideal job or career path.
Thank you. Thank you, Ari.
So for the last word of the first round, it's amazing how these words inspire so many beautiful and powerful stories. It will be the word fight, and it will be for Konstantinos, if you want to.
Fight. Fight, fight. Good word, huh? I think it was a good choice, yes. So, I believe I'm one of the luckiest in this room, as my profession wasn't hit by the global crisis, because being unemployed as an actor, it's a common day since the 50s. So, you need to do a lot of other works wherever you are. You are considered as successful in London, if you are working as an actor, 6 months per year. So the other 6 months, of course, you understand that you need to do, you know, other jobs. In the past, somebody asked me if I'm an actor, and I replied, yes, would you like fries with that? So 7 years ago, I made this choice, and I went to London to study acting. And I remember when I was using the London Tube, the Underground, once in a blue moon, I was listening to Greek. That was very rare. It was once every month, and it was mainly some old women carrying bags from the British Museum and Harrods, and they were speaking Greek. Now, every day I'm listening to Greek, wherever I am. In the bus, in the underground, in the museum, in the park, in the pub. London is full of Greeks. It's been like 3 years now that London is full of Greeks. It makes you feel like you're home, but of course you're in London. We've been told in the past by English friends and co-students that we love the easy life, we love the sun, we love drinking coffee by the sea and all this. Yes, we do that, but we love working as well. You need to come and see all these Greeks that they are working and they are making their living in a pub, in a bar, in a restaurant, in the underground, as bus drivers, working in the banks, working as actors, dancers, directors. We feel that we are ambassadors of our country, and this makes everything even more serious. So, being an unemployed Greek in Greece, it's something that happens, but we are trying to come back. We need to see the green light in order to come back. We want to come back. We don't want to stay abroad, I guess, but we need to see the green light. And
So let's move on to the second round of keywords, and let's try to keep this tight. Stereotypes. Kat, do you have a personal experience to share?
Yes. So when I think about stereotypes, sometimes I think about how company thinks that the young people are not ready to join the force. And I believe that we need to create programs that allow the youth to maybe work on soft skills. Because what I have seen lately is that the training that you have and the knowledge that you have, it's important, but having the soft skills bypasses that. So I think if we create programs that allows the youth to work on their soft skill, communications, those sorts of things, we can maybe help the youth to get jobs and maybe break that stereotype that companies think. And maybe if companies sees that maybe a young person has all these skills, they can give the opportunity to the next person. And we just create a chain.
Thank you. Any companies in the room, do you hear that?
So maybe we can go now for a word that we heard a lot about this morning. So maybe it will be interesting to hear also from your side. Sid, would you like to go?
Professional training was the main thing for me to get the job. With the EFE training that I got for 4 months, I have skills and I have development of my talent in many fields, especially that in our world, being young now in the job market is really hard. So we have to get and develop new skills to allow us to answer the job offers and the job requirements. EFE actually has given us training in many fields, professional fields, and that helped us to get an easy access to our careers. Also, professional training is not just about having acquisition of skills and knowledge. Also, it is having a professional culture that have an impact on all our career. Also, I'd like to add that professional professionalism especially is the main issue that have to be educated also in our universities, since it is the main requirement for all international companies that are the main job offers and the job creator. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandra, the next word is independence, and it's for you.
Independence for me was very important. After getting a new job, a good job with a good salary, I started to look forward to do something new, to new experience. So I decided to move from my parents' home to another home alone. And that was a huge thing in my country because we're conservative and it's not something usual. So I will not talk about independence now, sorry, but I appreciate, I would like to thank the EFE in front of all of you, because you barely can find organization, they support the young people. I work in a hotel which have 80% of the employees are very young, fresh graduate. And that's because of the EFE. They went to the manager and they convinced him to invest in a fresh graduate. And they gave me a great opportunity. I have many skills that I discovered in myself. And that was something huge for me this year. So thank you very much. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Maria.
Maybe we can go for another word that we've been hearing also, again, a lot through the day. So it will be, again, interesting to see how you see that. Joanna, would you like to take that one? Oh, you're here, sorry.
We have two Joannas.
All right, so yeah, entrepreneurship, that's a buzzword. I remember my first experience with entrepreneurship, and it was part of my university course. I never thought I'd be an entrepreneur. I didn't think that was an employment option for me. But what I learned through that experience was that it wasn't just about creating the business. It was about innovative thinking and inspiring entrepreneurs and sustainable business and social enterprise. And it left me feeling really empowered and confident and passionate about what I could do. And what I'm really glad to see happening in Greece is that the conversation is now changing about entrepreneurship. It's something that has been vilified for quite a while. And now suddenly we are hearing about startups, we're seeing young people build their own companies. And I'm really glad that the conversation is changing. We haven't reached critical mass yet, but I think we're on our way, and I'd like to see it changing the mentality here in Greece. But in order for that to happen, I think there's another step that needs to take place, and that's the framework. Because in order for us to actually deal with the practicalities of being an entrepreneur day in, day out, and what I'm hearing from other people that are giving it a try, is that it's a tough environment. And if I can leave one thing today, is that all of us are stakeholders in this, the private sector, the state, the young people, but in order for us to claim our future, in order for us to actually step up and grow and become the generation that will shape the future, we need all of these pieces to come together so that we can become everything that we've been told that we could achieve. So, yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Angeliki, the terms security versus insecurity, what do they mean to you?
Okay, so this keyword could also be easily connected to what I talked about previously about my studies, but it can also be connected with my feelings and my dreams about the future. So I'd really like one day to come back here to Greece and work here and put in practice all that I've been learning abroad, all this experience I've been gaining. The question I've been posing to myself these past months is that, okay, some of us have given this a great opportunity, not only to work abroad, but also in very big institutions. In my case, maybe in the biggest museum of modern art in the world. But what happens if I decide to come back to Greece? What are gonna be my chances professionally? Am I gonna be able to be productive, be creative? So I don't have the answers, and I know that these questions have been posed many times, but until the answers are given or I have found them, I think it's worth asking. So I choose to be optimistic though.
Thank you for that note.
The next word will be the accessible working places. Maybe this is not something that we tend to talk very often about. So, Joanna, would you like to tell us a bit more about this, what it means to you?
Yes. Well, I happen to be one of the very few visually impaired scientists in the world, because most of them work tend to do the same jobs who are defined for visually impaired people, such as telephone centers operators. And when I found my first job, I realized that I have to redefine everything from the beginning, educate the people, inform the people from my home to the office, inside the office, around the building. I had to arrange things like how I will work, how I will do simple things like write mathematics. And by leaving this job, everything was set up as a model to get some other person with a vision disability. Well, accessible is defined like something which is easy and friendly to use. And, but the job market is not easy and friendly to use. It's not open to disabled people. Unfortunately, the laws of Greece impose to disabled people to stay at home, because when somebody with a disability goes to have a job, his pension is stopped, is cut off, and in most of the cases, the salary that they receive is is lowest than the pension. So people prefer not to go to work, and they prefer to stay at home doing nothing, because otherwise they will lose their pension. So unfortunately, there are very few of us working, and I believe that if all the other people will have the chance to go out there in the job market and express their problems and help to build a better working environment, it will be a benefit for everybody, because accessibility is not only for the disabled people, it is also for people who have family, it is also for people who have a problem in a certain point in their life and they cannot deal with it. It's more friendly, it's more easy, it's more welcoming. So I really hope that in the near future, people with disabilities will have more opportunities to seek a job, because they really want to, they really need to, and that the job market, work market will be more friendly and open towards them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's move on to the word competition. Fanny, would you like to comment on this?
Competition. I will talk again about my field. In research, the competition is really, really high. Next year, I'm finishing my PhD, and I will have again to pass through the same procedures of competitions in order to find scholarship and funding for my postdoctoral training. So a scientist needs funding for his master thesis, his PhD, his postdoctoral training, And if he is lucky to find a permanent position, he will need funding in order to run his own lab. Every Greek that leaves the country, this wonderful country, lives with the hope to come back someday. I'm not really sure if this is possible for scientists. Right now, there are no positions in research, funded positions, and you can ask me, what do you suggest about that in order to find solutions? I would suggest to establish PhD salaries, postdoctoral salaries, because I think that for Greek culture and for our country, it's really important to continue conducting research and science.
Thank you. Thank you, Fanny.
So our next word will be revolution. That's a word that is in everyone's mind sometimes. So, Hector, would you like to comment on that one?
Εγώ θα είμαι σύντομος στη λέξη, γιατί νομίζω ότι έχει...
I'll be brief because I think there's a lot that could be said about it. I chose it because I don't think that we should simply change the system itself, which is something that puts us the test today on a day-to-day basis. But I must say that I feel very much a Greek, and I have nothing to do with political parties that are nationalists, but I say that I feel that I'm a Greek because I feel rage when I see Greece going through what it does. And because I'm 19 years old, I must say that it saddens me to see children who are my age, who are Friday, Saturday and Sunday in a nightclub without knowing what it means for people that stay at home and who are going through hard times. And yesterday, I was on the street and I saw children looking through the rubbish bins to find food. I think it's a harsh contrast, and it's something that is not easy to assimilate. I don't think anybody here can actually stand seeing such pictures or images, but I hope in the future that I'll be able to have my own children, but I hope that I will not have to bring them into society such as my parents went through, and I'm talking about the junta. But I must say that this crisis that we're going through is very deeply entrenched, and nobody from the political leadership would know where it's going to end. I don't know if anybody could belie this point, but I think this is a harsh truth. And I think that we must be the first to revolt. I think we will be the one to lead the revolution. Thank you very much.
Exporting Greek culture, maybe that's a form of soft revolution. Evie?
Okay, Mom again. I call her from New York that time. I am there for the Director's Lab, kindly sponsored by the Stavrouniarchou Foundation. I'm crying in despair. Mom, I didn't get the funding for my PhD at Royal Central School of Speech and Drama. So if I am to do it, I will have to work and study for the next 6 years at least. So my mom says in perfect Yaniotica, which I will translate for you now, she said, darling, what are you crying about? What is this Royal Central School of Speech and Drama? I have never even heard about it. So just drop it all and come back home. I didn't drop it, but I saw it as an opportunity to explore what is this international performing arts market. And actually I discovered that there is such a market which is accessible for Greek performance makers. And if they make some more stratified choices, as creating work that is authentically Greek, in terms of contemporary Greek, in terms of innovation, and at the same time, if they make the choice to create it in a language that would raise their potential audience from 11 million people to 7 billion people.
this could, and there I saw an opportunity for Greek performance makers, for Greece, to start developing something like that. A starting point to look at could be possibly the funding or the profit from importing international culture, which is something we do a lot. Oh, have you heard of this fantastic show from this or the other country this institution is bringing in Greece? Or, oh, this great director is directing a Scandinavian play that really reminds you of Berlin stage. And this is fantastic that we value these international other cultures. And yes, let's keep on importing those amazing German and Japanese cars. But what about investing some part of this profit or funding to create our own Greek car? And this is actually a car that can succeed to be exported abroad, because there are two main assets the Greek culture hasn't tried yet in performing arts. And let's not confuse performing arts with classical studies or literature. It's a different thing. So we have these world known, famous stars like Aristoteles, Plato, Aristophanes, who is my favorite. And we also own 5% of the English language. We see it very often as a disdain if we use the English language to create our own performances, but I think that it favors communicating. That's why this language favors communication, collaboration with other cultures, and the cohabitation on the planet, and can be a great vehicle for us to export Greek culture and employ for that young Greek performance makers. Thank you.
I hope someone from the floor can move on that idea together with you. Let's go to our next word that is also linked with this. So it's creativity. And Yoli, would you like to comment on that one?
The word creativity, I'm thinking about this word during creativity, during unemployment, during a period of unemployment. And I remember a friend who has told me a two-bound story. This friend of mine has another friend who is going to my friend's house every day to borrow a new book. And my friend complained that he's coming every day and he's going to have to find a new library, a new friend very soon, because he has read all my books. Another friend of this friend, also unemployed, is downloading movies and turning them into CDs, DVDs, and he has a huge film archive by now. And why I'm mentioning these two examples? First of all, there's the element of excess in both. Like, we're talking about a big library, we're talking about an archive, not just one film or two films. This excess means a lot of energy. And this energy, in my opinion, and these specific aptitudes that people have and unemployed people have need to somehow be discovered. So I'm not talking about perhaps I'm talking about a revolution in terms of the division of labor, a new division of labor that would deploy people's aptitudes and talents, and in that way people would feel more useful and they would be more indispensable they wouldn't be, it wouldn't be so easy for companies, employers to fire them. Thank you very much.
Well, now we have a more romantic term, nostalgia for the future. Dimitra, what does this mean to you?
This is a very poetic expression and very literary, and it can sound as an oxymoron, oxymoroschema. Most people feel nostalgia for the past, for things that they have experienced already, things that have happened. I suggest we feel nostalgia for a future, and we have a vision about a better future. And because sometimes I feel that we are nostalgic about the better days that have passed, that have gone through, and sometimes we forget that the present is now, and we might even feel nostalgic for the future, because in that way, the future will come faster, and it will be better, and maybe this will be a feeling that will provoke more fresh ideas and even bigger will to just get over with this really bad crisis. This is my suggestion.
I just hope that this doesn't go with an expectation for the past.
The past is gone.
Romanticism to practicality, and there's the word flexibility. It has so many connotations. I would like to hear how do you interpret that one. And Lida, would you like to take the floor?
So flexibility is a word I understand too well, but I think I have trouble coming to grips with. I am Generation X. I'm defined by the need for stability, for norms and solid frameworks. Yet I think I'm only too conscious of that the world, and the economic crisis made this really clear, that the world is in flux and that change is more constant than permanence. So if I'm to be true to myself, I have to embrace this reality. Therefore, flexibility for me becomes is something exciting as well as frightening. So flexibility actually meant me looking for an ideal working environment and going after my dream job at the cost of having little or no material return for a long time. In the risky business environment, it meant that I have to accept and remain positive at every event of failure and evaluate myself after every action and every experience. Then flexibility means working in new ways, learning new things, which is great. But then changing plans all the time is not so great. You have to be aware all the time of opportunities and threats and tackle shortages ahead of time, create solutions where there are none. All this process is very creative. This flexible lifestyle is great, but it is tiring. And at some point, I'm sure I'm going to want to go steady with my business and focus on my personal life, and then I'll need to find some constants. Variables are not possible to live on variables all the time. So I just want to say I made this sacrifice. I tried to go along with the terms of our age, with this crisis and with all the economic ramification, everything that it means for us young people. So what I would like to ask from the people who actually are in charge of this, the economy and of how the world works, to be flexible with our claims as well. So, as much as I've tried to be flexible for them and to try to integrate in this environment, I'd like people to listen to me and to my needs and cooperate. I really like a cooperation with the system, the structures, and cooperate on changing structures. Anyway, just, yeah, thank you.
Thanks, thank you. Ari, do you persist in your life?
Okay, I would like to share something, a personal story about that word. Life is tough, that's a given. And life is also choice. So we all one day get hit hard by life, and when we get knocked down, we have only two choices. The first one is to just continue fighting and keep pushing until we overcome the difficulties and the problems that we face. And the other choice is to look for excuses and eventually, after some time, quit. In October, a person that I loved and cared for very, very much passed away after fighting cancer for 3 years. And it was a time period that was really difficult for me, but it was also a time period that really taught me many valuable things about life and opportunities. So I used to talk with that person about other people suffering cancer, and I was asking him why some people quit and don't keep on fighting until they win or lose, and why they don't persist. So this guy told me that persistence, there's no point in persisting if you don't know why. And persistence is there for this purpose and protect this purpose. And the third step is persisting until you get there or until you fulfill the dream. So talking about youth unemployment today, I would say that persistence is again the third step. The first step for young people is to find something that, find a job or create a job, a new job that they enjoy doing. And then the second step would be to work hard every day and keep pushing until they establish it in the market, if it's a new one. And then persist until the end, persist until they become successful in that job. I believe that opportunities are everywhere around us, and even in Greece, in the Greek crisis. But sometimes we're either too blind to see them or too impatient to wait for the door to open. So, persist.
Thank you, Ari. And for our final keyword, it's the word success. And Konstantine?
Yes. So I just noticed that nearly all of us in this panel, we are mentioning that we want to come back to Greece, and this is fascinating for me because I'm sharing the same belief. I like this word, success, because I've been brainwashed from my primary school years to get the best grades, the best marks, and then the high school was there, and then the same thing, the best grades and the best marks, because I should be successful, I should chase the success, and then the university comes, the same old story, and then you need to have a master's degree in order to be successful in this society that we are living, and a PhD, which I don't have, but I'm just saying that, and all this story. You need to chase success. You need to be successful in 2014, because otherwise you cannot do anything else. If I ask each one of you what success is for you, I'm sure that each one of you will give me a different answer. My grandma, she's like 84. A very strong and proud Pontic woman in a small village in northern Greece, and she believes that if I don't have a family, I'm unsuccessful. So at the moment, I'm unsuccessful, of course, for my grandma. But after all these years, our poet's lines always comes into my heart and into my mind, and I'm going to recite them for you. As you set out for Ithaca, hope that your journey is a long one, full of adventure, full of discovery. For me, success is the journey. For me, success is that we sailed into other seas. But now, we want to come back to our country, to our home. στην Ελλάδα μας. Ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Thank you, everyone. We need to wrap this up, but we would like to give you the opportunity, if you wish, to share with us a keyword that you might have thought and you would like to share it with us, and maybe one of our panelists can say a few words about your keyword, or if you'd like to ask a question. So we could take a couple questions or keywords. Gabriela.
I'd just like to give a keyword to somebody who never would like to pick it up. It's age, and it's because unfortunately in Greece, we consider young people and young artists to be somebody that is around the age of 30, whereas in any other European country, young people are up to the age of 24. So you would have the bizarre thing that you would say, oh, a young director, this person would be 35, or 38 years old. So would somebody like to comment on age?
Thank you for that, because actually I forgot to mention my age. And I did forget because my physical age is 33. But when Lenya said, okay, you have to state your age, then I thought, which age? Because at days I'm so tired, I feel I am 200 years old. But on the other hand, my life choices and job choices and optimism makes me act like a 5-year-old. So I would say age is just a house number. Do you live in number 16 or 54? And what does that mean?
Thank you. Yes, please, the gentleman. Could you please state your name and affiliation?
Thank you. I'm Pavlos from Slow Food. So we like to have a particular relationship with time in general. Youth is great on the way we live, on the way we produce, on the way we commune to each other. So I heard the girls saying that at some point I want to focus on my personal life, I want to be more stable, and then, yeah, maybe probably then you will stop being a youth. Do you think there are ways that we can advance in our society, in our way of doing things, by maintaining our generation's signature?
Who would like to?
We have a candidate here.
I think what makes you youthful, well, at least what we associate with youth, is this curiosity that we have and this willingness to try things. And that's something that you don't, it doesn't matter what age you are, you can keep that. And I think that's sort of pivotal to what we do. Then again, in our personal life, we might want some sort of stability, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to stay curious and keep producing things and keep moving forward with what we do. It's about finding that balance between the two. Now, in terms of doing something for our generation to have that, I think a lot of us have it. It's about discovering it. And it takes a lot of empowerment. It takes examples. And it also takes opportunities to find ourselves out of our comfort zone. And if we find, some of us do it ourselves, some of us need someone else to sort of pull us along in it. So if we can create situations where any person our age can find themselves a little bit outside their comfort zone and question how they're doing it, you start liking that and you hold on to that, and hopefully you never lose it and you stay part of youth for as long as you can.
Thank you. I'm afraid we don't have any more time for questions, but our very good and inspirational speakers will be here for at least a few hours. I hope you won't leave. So maybe you can have a chance to talk to them when the first day is over. Please join me in applauding them. Before we step down, I would like to thank Maria for sharing this panel. And now I would like to ask my friends from this panel to step down with me from the stage and ask you to stay with us for half an hour. Don't leave just yet, because we have a surprise for you. We will clear the stage for 2 performances. One is from a School Wave band. School Wave is an institution that's been running for many years now in Greece. It's basically rock bands comprised of school children, and they'll play for 7 minutes. And then we'll have another surprise from you from an organization called Pangea, but I can't tell you anything more at this point. And while we do this whole setup change, you will watch 3 videos that we have edited from the breakout sessions that took place earlier this afternoon. So the ones who attended 1 or 2 of the 3, you can have an idea of what actually took place and what was discussed in the other ones. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for staying with us. Thank you.
In today's session on entrepreneurship, the panelists discussed a proposal for an entrepreneurship institute in Greece, which will educate, facilitate, and promote entrepreneurship in Greece. The institute will focus on key areas of growth in the Greek economy, such as ICT, agriculture, and tourism. The panelists made several points, emphasizing the importance of policy change in promoting growth in the sector, incentives that can take the form of direct funding or loans, developing networks of key stakeholder groups and promoting collaborations among them, and bringing in international networks to create awareness about the Institute and the ideas of young entrepreneurs. In closing, the panelists discussed the important role philanthropic foundations can play in further developing the sector. Thank you.
Today's breakout session on agricultural development started with a presentation prepared by Radkis University, the American Farm School, and the Agricultural University of Athens, which falls under the Recharging the Youth initiative taken by the Stavros Niarchos Foundation. The panel was comprised by members and representatives of educational institutions and the private sector. The main points of this presentation revolved around the need for the creation of entrepreneurship centers, the implementation of an awareness campaign in order to bring Greek youth closer to the agricultural field, and the establishment of extension services. The main points of the panelists focus on the needs and problems encountered by Greek farmers, the efforts made by private companies and educational institutions to address them, and the importance of engaging young people in the field by giving them, though, the right tools to work with. As we heard, according to recent studies, only 7% of Greek farmers are under 35 years old, and of that 7%, 39% has or would like to start their own business. At the same time, agriculture is identified as one of the drivers for growth in Greece. So the question that the panel tried to answer is, what do we as individuals, corporations, the state or foundation have to do in order to achieve that? The main prevailing responses lied in the notion of education. We need to invest in that in order to provide farmers with the basic knowledge and help them get hands-on experience. Also introduce new cultivation methods, develop public and private partnerships which will secure the required sustainability and scalability, and also improve infrastructure. We also heard that governments should implement the proper regulatory policies, and corporations have to work in a more transparent and more respectful way in order to gain the trust of the consumers. If Greece manages to produce quality products, have more exports and less imports, adjust its production to the needs of the market, then it was our common belief that agriculture can indeed address some of the problems of unemployment, and especially youth unemployment in Greece.
The panel of cultural tourism highlighted the potential of the sector to become a driver for growth. It has been recognized so through various levels, in international and European levels, in national level, in a local level. And this because it can create a multiplier effect for the creation of economic and social development, for social cohesion and the upgrade of the quality of life. It can not only contribute to job creation, but also to obtaining knowledge, the sense of belonging and the promotion of volunteerism as a way to involve the youth. The Stavros Niarchos Foundation pilot initiative that is currently under design with the collaboration of the Ministry of Culture and the Initiative for Heritage Conservancy has been presented. It aspires to change the way we manage cultural heritage in the country, given especially the shrinking budgets. It aspires to promote good practice, to implement international examples, always adapting them in the local special conditions. In particular, commenting in this presentation, the panelists illustrated examples for the promotion and upgrade of cultural heritage sites and how they can be transformed into more extrovert sites. Some points that can be replicated are the importance of engaging the local communities and in general developing the coordination and collaboration with local stakeholders, the provision of easy access to the sites, the education and innovation as a way to attract visitors and keep them returning, the creation of hands-on programs that accompany the visit, and in general, the creation, the development of an attracting visitor experience and narratives that address various target groups and that touch upon emotions. Also, the sites have to be carefully chosen so they are able to be preserved, promoted, and sustained appropriately. Finally, main issues that were identified as essential to be taken into consideration were, first, the need to design a long-term strategy and implement a specific policy. Second, collaborations in the examples of public-private partnerships could further enhance this effort. Third, scholarships, traineeships, internships. These are practical solutions that can enhance skills and create opportunities for the youth. Fourth, it is necessary to keep a correct balance between the promotion of cultural tourism and the preservation of cultural heritage. And finally, the role of edutainment. We should make history education more interesting, so to bring people in the sites and bring the sites into the people's minds.
Φαντάσματα στον ουρανό. Τα φαντάσματα τους με στοιχιώσαν, με ρίξαν μέσα σε έναν όμορφο βυθό. Με το χαμόγελο στα χείλη λοιπόν ας βυθιστώ, σαν τα φαντάσματα κι εγώ. Γνωριζόμαστε πολύ καιρό, μα ξέρει τι θέλω, ναι, να έχω κάτι να περιμένω για κάτι καλό. Τίποτα. Δεν έρθει ποτέ, κλείνω τα μάτια και όλο μαθαίνω, ναι, τα σωθήκα μου να καίω κι απλά να γελώ. Πόσο μ' αρέσει να γελώ, τίποτα. Είναι μέρες χαράς, τίποτα. το φεγγάρι αν δεν το βρούμε θα αρκεστούμε και στο διάι στον Άρη να ανεβαίνουμε στα δέντρα και να κόβουμε τα φύλλα να παίρνουμε να τρώμε από του Άδαμ τα μήλα τόσα χρόνια τριγυρνάω κατά τις φούστες των μεγάλων δεν αντέχω άλλο δεν αντέχω άλλο.
Before you go, θα μου πείτε όνομα, ηλικία, κάτι για σας.
Νίκος Τσόλης, 19 χρονών, φοιτητής. Αυτό ξέρω.
Και μουσικός.
Και μουσικός.
Μαρία, 19, φοιτήτρια.
Και τραγουδίστρια.
Σοφία, 18, θα γίνω φοιτήτρια.
Σαξοφωνίστρια.
Αλέξανδρος, 16, μαθητής και μπάσου.
Και τώρα κάνεις καλοκαίρι. Τώρα κάνεις διακοπές. Allow me to say that in Greek. Τα παιδιά συμμετέχουν στο School Wave Festival.
The kids are participating in the School Wave Hospital. You're a school band, aren't you? Yes? The School Wave Festival is actually taking place for many years here in Athens. This year, it's going to take place next week, 3, 4 and 5 of July in the area right next to the Cultural Centre of Stavros Niarchos, and it's going to be supported by Nation. Are you going to sing there? No. Okay. We wish you every success in whatever you do, and have a very good summer.
Περιμένετε. Αγχώθηκα.
Wait, who are you? What's your name? We are the Jamhurian World Center, and we're here to play music from West Africa, from Mali and Burkina Faso. And I hope that we were able to convey the right message to you. Anything else? We'd like some more. We'd like to see a lot more of what you do. Could you play for another couple of minutes? Would that be possible? So first of all, let me thank Dzioba and Dauda. And of course, all the Greeks who are members of the band. But these two people have helped us be more authentic in what we do. You'd like to hear something else from us? Come on, go ahead. Show us something else as well. Let's play one more piece.